What about all the white people who commit crimes in this country? You're going to kick them out of this country? You're going to kick them out of this country too?
Matters.
But
you haven't answered the question.
Your comment is just as racist as Donald Trump's comment. The idea that you focus on one Haitian person and use that as a justification for a racist foreign policy is disgusting. It's abhorrent.
I'm sure, does anybody at this table, have you heard the name Aiden Clark, an 11-year-old boy? No? You guys don't know his name?
Here we go.
11-year-old boy killed by a
Caroline, you're not the only person at the table.
Just a second. I will say he did let you finish your entire thought, so just let him finish his.
He actually said these countries. He said Haiti's a shithole country. He said they're poisoning the blood of this country. He said they're bringing AIDS to this country. He accused Haitian immigrants of eating people's cats and dogs.
You're citing emotions.
That's what
you could have emotional.
Trump said.
I'm citing what the Supreme Court decided. The Supreme Court decided that your argument was moot.
And be a true American.
Can they come to your community?
They are in our community. I live in New York City, one of the most diverse cities in the world.
So can they come stay at your house?
I would welcome them in my home. I would welcome them in my neighborhood.
Now, I'm going to need you guys to stick with me to the very end of this segment, because in this clip, we are going to see MAGA, the Republican Party's just blatant racism just exposed in this clip. We're going to see Keith Boykin and Caroline Sunshine just clash simply because of the Supreme Court's decision to end temporary status for immigrants and asylum seekers, in particular Haitian immigrants. As usual, let's watch the clip in full, and I'm going to give you guys my thoughts, my comments, my perspective towards the end. Let's get into it.
Good evening. I'm Abby Phillip in New York. Tonight, the White House is celebrating a pair of major Supreme Court victories that expand the president's power on immigration, and it clears the way for him to continue his crackdown. The first decision allows the Trump administration to end temporary protected status for foreign nationals from countries like Haiti or Syria. Millions may soon be eligible for deportation, and hundreds of thousands could lose their work authorization they receive under the program, which was meant to help people fleeing war or disaster in their home country. Now, separately, the justices ruled that the White House can revive a controversial policy that allows officials to block asylum seekers entering the U.S. southern border. The decision drew a scathing dissent from Justice Sonia Sotomayor, who warned more people will die as a result. The policy began under President Obama, was ended by President Biden, and now, with its return under Trump 2.0, here's how the White House's Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller, sums it up.
I think the most important point is that this administration, on the asylum point, is we've implemented international agreements all over the world to take in our asylum seekers. So America's doors are closed fully to asylum seekers.
That statement, I think, encapsulates exactly how Stephen Miller sees the world, what he has wanted to do for a long time. But at the same time, asylum still is in the law, right? Like, it is still a legal process. And the court basically has given the Trump administration carte blanche to effectively shut it down, as Stephen Miller said.
Right. You know, when we look at these pair of cases, they're being presented, in the media as well, as a victory for the Trump administration. For me, it's not so much a victory for Trump or for this administration. It's a victory for executive power. And that's something that should make a lot of people nervous, because the administration has basically been given permission from the highest court to dismantle critical parts of our immigration system. But Congress set up our asylum process. Congress, bipartisan Congress, designed TPS. In my view, the Supreme Court is basically abdicating itself of its responsibilities under the Constitution to provide checks and balances to the other branches of government. They're acting as though there are only two branches of government. And so when we talk about the administration, this administration wanting to end these programs, it's very problematic in terms of the consequences, but just from a legal framework, it is quite problematic, because the administration admits that it did not follow the processes to end TPS. And with the asylum case, it's very questionable that the Supreme Court even took this case, because those proceedings are not metering the turnbacks. That is not happening right now. So it's, in a sense, a theoretical argument. But this speaks to the incredible deference that this court has given to the Trump administration on immigration. Yeah, on immigration and on a lot of other things. For the Haitians, however, this means that, hundreds of thousands of them,
if you take the entire pool of Haitians and Syrians together, it could be 1 million people are affected by this. Could be stripped of their protective status, stripped of their work permits, and told to go home. And interestingly, here's what Mike DeWine, the governor of Ohio, said. He says, the policy to remove these individuals from this country is a mistake. This also means that while these Haitians were working and contributing to our country, our community and economy yesterday, today it is now illegal to employ them. So he is sounding the alarm. And this is, by the way, the place, he calls out Springfield, Ohio. This is the place where J.D. Vance lied about Haitians eating cats and dogs. And he says they are a part of 10,000 of them. They're a part of this community now. They're taking on jobs. They're building the economy. And he just says it's the wrong policy.
Yeah, it is. And so the court's decision is actually really good for Haiti as a country, as a sovereign nation, because the first word in TPS is temporary. It's always supposed to be temporary. And specifically in regards to the Haitians who have come here, the first batch came, I think, in 2010 after the earthquake in Haiti. It's been 16 years since the earthquake. So that's not temporary. And at what point, by American standards, are we going to decide that Haiti is livable again? When's that day coming? Is that coming in 6 months? Is that coming in a year? Probably not anytime soon. And one thing that doesn't get talked about is some of these TPS recipients, not all but some, have been doctors, lawyers, engineers, teachers who left Haiti. How is Haiti as a nation supposed to rebuild itself when we've brain drained a lot of their talent and planted them in Springfield, Ohio, where that's not fair to the residents of Springfield, Ohio either. And as a nation, we are legally obligated to our own citizens before we're obligated to anybody else. Springfield, Ohio, notice how the migrants are never brought to Nantucket. They're never brought to Beverly Hills. They're never brought to Martha's Vineyard. They're never going to go compete with hedge fund bros who inherited the job from their dad. They're always going to be brought to middle America, places like Springfield, Ohio, where they're going to have to compete with Americans for wages, depreciate those wages. I'm sure, does anybody at this table, have you heard the name Aiden Clark? An 11-year-old boy? No? You guys don't know his name?
Here we go.
11-year-old boy
killed
again. By a Haitian immigrant under TPS with no American driver's license who rammed his car into a bus, killed 11-year-old Aiden, and injured 20 school children. Who is this good for? Not the Haitians, not the American people.
I love how they cherry pick isolated cases and forget the fact that people who are immigrants actually commit fewer crimes than people who are residents in this country. But getting back to the point of this discussion about Haiti, first of all, I'm so glad that you're concerned about Haiti right now.
I am. It's a sovereign nation.
And the alleged brain drain. But the U.S. State Department says, would you let me speak? Because I let you speak. The U.S. State Department says that it's actually not safe for Americans to travel to Haiti right now. So you want to dump these people into a country where even our own State Department, the Trump administration, says it's not safe. But the larger problem is that this is a country that is now governed by a racist foreign policy and a racist immigration policy. At the same time, Stephen Miller is out here claiming that we don't allow anybody into this country for asylum anymore. The doors are closed. We're allowing white South Africans to come to this country. Those are the only people who can come to this country right now, white South Africans. But 350,000 Haitian Americans who are black can't stay here, even though they have been here, many of them for many years. They can't stay here. They're tax-paying people. They are law-abiding people. They are people who actually do jobs and create jobs. They're actually people who are doing jobs that some Americans don't want to do.
No, they want the jobs. They just don't want to do it for that wage.
Cleaning toilets.
They don't want to do it for that wage.
In a hotel.
And big business, the healthcare industry loves to keep them here. It's modern slave labor. You oppose slavery.
You're not the only person at the table.
Just a second. I will say, he did let you finish your entire thought, so just let him finish his, please.
So I think the larger problem here is that we have an administration that is changing not only foreign policy, immigration policy, but changing the Republican Party. What Raul said a moment ago is really important. This is a bipartisan bill. This is a bipartisan legislation, the Immigration Act of 1990, signed by President George H.W. Bush, at the time when Republicans and Democrats used to agree that it was okay, that America actually believed in the principles of the Statue of Liberty, that we actually wanted to have people come here and seek asylum, or to at least come here and to be able to live here if they knew that their conditions were not good in their own countries.
The issue, well, first of all, I just want to note that, to your point, the State Department has a level 4 warning for Haiti, Syria, and Somalia. It says, do not travel for U.S. citizens. And if you do travel, prepare a will. So I think that tells you kind of everything you need to know about how they feel the situation is. But on the issue of racism, that came up in the court decision. And Samuel Alito, in the majority opinion, said, None of the cited statements by either the president or the secretary were overtly racist. In substance, all expressed policy views that could rest on race-neutral justifications. Elena Kagan, she hit back and said, the evidence they have offered includes statements by the president so repellent and racially infected that the majority declines to put them in print. These statements fairly shout in their racial undertones and overtones alike that race entered into the president's resolve to remove Haitians from this country.
Can I just mention some of those comments?
When he called Haitians or Haiti a shithole country,
Thank you.
That I think that's what a lot of people, what's one of the many statements that make a lot of people believe that there is racial animus at play here.
Well, I mean, you're making it about race. Keith's making it about race. That was precisely the argument that the Supreme Court said was not the proper one. Yes, the legislation for TPS was a bipartisan bill from 40 years ago, but it gave the Secretary of Homeland Security extreme policy oversight in determining who gets TPS or who loses it. In this case, we've litigated this. We had an election, right? President Trump, you pointed out he said some pretty mean things. We litigated this debate during the election, and the American people chose to have a more restrictive anti-immigration policy. That's just the fact. The American public put Donald Trump in place. He is now implementing policies that you may not agree with, but the American people elected. And it's not just Haiti. So we keep focusing on this racial thing. It's about all 13 countries that temporary protective status have recently come up for renewal that he has pushed to withdraw or deny.
The reason why we focus on Haiti, though, is because Haiti is the issue that involves race most directly. It's an equal protection issue under the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. He actually said these countries, he said Haiti is a shithole country. He said they're poisoning the blood of this country. He said they're bringing AIDS to this country. He accused Haitian immigrants of eating people's cats and dogs.
You're citing emotions?
That's what Donald Trump said.
I'm citing what the Supreme Court decided. The Supreme Court decided that your argument was moot.
And the Supreme Court was wrong.
That the TPS statute gave the Secretary of Homeland Security the authority to do this. You may not like the results of the election. I happen to have voted for Donald Trump.
So you're saying the voters voted for a racist foreign policy?
What majority white country was up for TPS renewal recently that he didn't move to?
Trump is allowing white South Africans to come to this country. They're the only people who are allowed to come to this country.
Name a majority white country. Name a majority white country that has TPS. That's up for renewal that the Trump administration did not try to not renew.
You have very passionate arguments around TPS, right? Both of you at this table, all of us. But the thing I think is most important when we're talking about TPS is that this case was not about a definition of what is temporary, when is temporary too long. And it was not a case about whether or not Haitians are here doing jobs that Americans don't want. And Haitians actually, among our immigrant population, Haitians have some of the highest educational attainment because many people who have come from Haiti left because they are professional people with advanced degrees.
Raul, does TPS allow the sunset?
Joe, please let him finish.
The point of TPS is in the letter of the law and the spirit of the law is that it grants humanitarian relief to people from these countries where they would be in danger if the U.S. government returned. This is not a question of what the Supreme Court did not even examine the issue.
Does the statute give an end date for the renewal?
No, by design.
So the TPS doesn't have renewal dates. So the renewal date for Ukraine that's up in the fall this year, that's not
that is by design.
Raul's point is
it's a policy question.
Hold on a second. Raul's point is that TPS is designed that it can be extended for as many times as
Congress could have put an end point,
as the administration
and the discretion is given
now,
to the
but
Secretary
here's the thing.
of Homeland Security.
I think Raul's other point was that they acknowledge that they didn't follow the process that's in the law for actually going through this renewal process.
Right.
So the court basically said, doesn't really matter. We're going to defer to the executive branch and let them proceed however, even if it is in defiance
You're correct
of the law.
in the sense that the statute does give Homeland Security Secretary this discretion to around TPS when they follow the processes, which they admit in the filing that they did not. That's what makes this a really startling decision. And I know I'm talking too much, and so but I want to say that's an important part of this.
Let me just play one more thing. This is Stephen Miller today talking about what he thinks the founding fathers would have wanted. Listen.
You know, when the founding fathers built this country, they were keenly aware of the fact that their history as Englishmen in the colonies, their history and experience with Enlightenment principles and values formed the foundation of our system of government. It's simply not the case, it has never been the case, to go back to the Haiti example, that you can just take 3 million people from a failed island, put them into America, and overnight that they are able to become fully successful, fully assimilated American citizens. That defies everything we know about how culture works, how assimilation works, how nations work.
So, Amanda, I find it extremely rich for someone like Stephen Miller to say that, especially since his own ancestors, who were Jewish, who fled persecution, came to this country and were thought at the time to not be capable of assimilation, were thought at the time to not be compatible with American society. And they came here and they assimilated. And now he's in the White House.
It is the embodiment of the American dream. I mean, it's literally engraved on the Statue of Liberty. Give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses. Like, this is a place where you can come if you are not safe where you live. It is a place where you can come and incorporate and assimilate and be a true American.
Can they come to your community?
They are in our community. I live in New York City, one of the most diverse
So
cities
can they
in the
come
world.
stay at your house?
I would welcome them in my home.
As
I
many
would
as
welcome
we
them in
need?
my neighborhood.
As
If
many
they
as
are
we
coming
need.
here through the way.
Could your house handle 10, even if it doesn't have room for 10?
We should solve the housing crisis in New York City, and then I would love to do
that's an
that.
excuse, but you could just take them now.
TPS are not doing
Let
that.
me let Amanda finish her
I will just say, I think
please.
it's like such a devastating way to go into celebrating 250 years of America by kicking out the people who make America great, who make this country what it is. The immigrants who come and say, you know what, I'm going to come as a doctor, an engineer. I'm going to bring my talents to Springfield, Ohio, and make that a home.
Was the Haitian migrant who killed 11-year-old Aiden Clark making America better with that action?
That is
That
that
is
is
families
that
say
is
that? When you got
conflating
one
case,
my
families
criticism.
say that?
You're going to kick out
He killed a child
350,000 people because
He
of
killed a
one
child.
case.
Is that
One
making
case.
America
You're going to
better?
kick out
I don't think that's my
350,000
definition
people
of
because of
making
one
America
stereotype.
better.
What about all,
One, I
what
don't
about
have to
all the
give you
white
one.
people who commit crimes in this country? You're going
One
to kick
life
them out of this
matters.
country? You're going to
One
kick them out of this
American
country
life
too?
matters.
But
But you haven't
know
answered
what?
the question.
Your comment is just
Is
as
killing an
racist as Donald
11-year-old
Trump's
American
comment.
child making America better?
I didn't
It's
focus
not.
on one Haitian person and use that as a justification for a racist foreign policy. Is disgusting. It's abhorrent.
It's
And
disgusting
if
that an
you stand here
11-year-old
and
was
use that as
killed
a
by a
ju-
Haitian
justification
migrant
to
who
smear the
rammed his
entire
car into a
population that
bus.
Trump already
That is
called
disgusting.
shithole? A shithole country?
He was
That
referencing the
shows
government,
exactly what
which
MAGA
treats
is
their
made
people
of. It's
poorly.
made of racism.
All right, we got to just
gotta
leave
go
it there.
away from
We
the
do have
topic
to
a
leave it
bit.
there. We want to invite you at home.
Ay, 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 ay. Genuinely, when it comes to these guys, they really, really boil my blood. Let me first and foremost start off with Stephen Miller. I hate this guy with a passion. I'm just going to be real. I absolutely hate this guy with a passion. When I see his face, that is a face, and please, I'm not someone who is for violence, but that is someone who has a punchable face, genuinely, because he's absolutely disgusting, he's vile, he's a white supremacist, and he's racist. The very fact and the very idea that Stephen Miller himself, if Stephen Miller was a part of the administration when Stephen Miller's family and his ancestors came here, Stephen Miller's very own policies would have them potentially on the brink of being thrown out of the United States of America. I want you guys to really understand that for a second. His own policies and the things that he supports would have his whole entire family thrown out of the United States of America. This is how violent individual he is. And it's funny because before I actually pressed record and started to make this video, I was just doing a little bit of research, and there's two articles that I found. One article is from Stephen Miller's uncle, where he is basically talking down on Stephen Miller. And the next one is from Stephen Miller's rabbi. Stephen Miller is Jewish, is of Jewish descent. His family were lucky enough to be able to avoid and get away from the Holocaust. But yet here he is, however many years later, however many generations later, and he's now taking on white supremacist and racist talking points. The guy is absolutely vile. And then I'm going to move on to Caroline Sunshine, this MAGA Barbie, absolute airhead. The fact that it is that she's took an isolated incident, which was obviously a horrible isolated incident. We never ever want to downplay it. But the fact that it is that she took this isolated incident and she tried to label a whole community, a whole country of people, once again just shows how disgusting and how vile these people are. Because the reality is this: you can't do that. That's the exact reason why Keith Boykin said what it is that he said. Because if we were to take the history of white people and we were to label all white people based off of that, well, how far back do you want to go? You know, we could do that, but it doesn't make sense to do that. It's stupid. It's a dumb idea to do that. You know, she wants to highlight the fact that one child was killed, which, let me highlight again, is absolutely disgusting and it's sad. We never ever want that to be the case. But she also doesn't want to take a look at the fact that the United States is trillions of dollars in debt, and the majority of immigrants pay more into the system than what it is that they take out. They contribute more than what it is that they take out. So if you now take those people out of the United States system, what do you think is going to happen? I see it right here in my country as well. These people try and make these arguments of, oh, people would do the jobs if immigrants weren't doing it. Well, they can apply right now, even with the immigrant there, but they don't want to do the jobs. That's exactly the reason why farmers have been struggling, because they can't get people to be able to come in and do some of the jobs that it is that they need. I genuinely hate this administration. And the point that it is that I hate it makes it even worse, because I'm not even living in the United States of America, but yet still the policies and the things that it is that they do still affect me right here in my country. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this segment, on this clip, down in the comment section below. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.